Somewhere in my Grand Canyon video, I promised that I would show a cemetery of star children. But I decided not to do that. I decided to show you two of them. One in Missouri and one in Illinois, of these star children. They're everywhere. What happened to them? Let's check them out. Okay, I want to begin this section with a little bit of a reprise from 2014, when I promised I was going to show some more of the star children people. We're going to look at these two handsome fellows here, and these are real skulls. And you can always tell the real skulls from the fake skulls, is because the real skulls are always missing teeth. If you see an ancient skull that was supposedly dug up in a museum or any place that is promoting the Darwinian theory of evolution, they always have perfect teeth. And that's how you can always tell. And these guys look pretty straightforward like this, but when you look at the sides of them, they don't look anything like what we see in the Darwinian theory or anywhere else. These types of skulls are not going to be advertised or spoken about. It's just not going to happen. But anyway, this came from my book, Cliff Dwellers of Mesa Verde, by Norton Skull, which is a fantastic book. I go into it a lot with my Grand Canyon video from years ago. And I do not believe that these could be hydroencephalus because they look aged. They look aged, and back then I just can't believe that these people would be able to propagate if they were hydroencephalus. And what happened to the descendants of these people? What happened to them? Where are they today? Why aren't there any of them? And of course, this is one of the plates from the same book, Cliff Dwellers of Mesa Verde. And here you can clearly see these are mature teeth. This is not a child. Even though their statures were very short, they had to be quite aged. But you can see that the skull here, quite large and round. Now we're going to move to this book here, The Missouri Archaeologist, Volume 26, December 1964. And even though it's printed in 1964, the data in it is taken from 1958, 1959-ish. And the whole study was concerning salt and the salt trade of Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, Kentucky, and up and down the Mississippi River. And this is the book, page 24. And here you see where we're talking about, right here on the west bank of the Mississippi River, here in Missouri. Saline Creek. Anytime you see Saline Creek, that means that there are salt flows that flow into that creek, making that creek salty. Okay, and contour intervals are 20 feet, so this is some pretty steep area here. And they found several mound complexes in this area, which I'm not going to go into, and all kinds of pottery and polychrome, which I may show some. And it just behooves me that a lot of the pottery that they find here, and as well as here in Illinois, and I have found pottery shards myself that are imprinted with fabric. So they had to have weaving looms to make the fabric. And so where are they now? What, did they just all rot away? Did they use old clothing wear to make the imprints on their pottery? And then, well, you figure, why did they do that in the first place? And the only thing I can think of that it would make it to where they could grip it better. They could grip the pottery better. Now here we see, coming from page 99, child burial at the Fortnight site. The Celt is not believed to be a burial association. Okay, just found in the burial, but the Fortnight site is one of the sites that this book goes into mainly 6 different sites primarily. And the Fortnight site is one of them, Cole and some others. And so we're going to look at the child burial, okay? Child burial. And we're going to scroll it down here. And lo and behold, we have the massive cranium, the massive skull here. And you'll notice that, yeah, he is very short. He's not very tall at all. I would say maybe, what, 4 feet. 4 feet from head to toe. But notice the teeth. These teeth are large and worn. I don't believe that this is any kind of child. I believe that that is a fully matured person. And they found several of them like this in this area. It's a hotbed. Now, slab-lined grave at the Copperhead site. Now, they found these slab-lined graves all over Missouri, Kentucky, Virginia, Tennessee. They're everywhere. They're everywhere along the Atlantic coast. And you can see by the knife here that it's kind of small. But here's kind of what they look like. Just going to showing you what these slab-lined burials look like. And obviously the skeleton has been removed. Why would they do that? What was the purpose? Were they able to lay rocks across the top? Why go to so much trouble to dig a hole, and it had to be dug many inches deeper than what you see here, to line the rocks in the bottom, and then go and find and harvest stones from other places to line the sides and the head and the foot. This is one of them here. Another slab-lined grave at the Copperhead site. Comes from page 122. There's the knife. So it appears to be somewhat of a small grave. But man, it's really out there, man. This is some really cool stuff. Slab-lined on 4 sides and the bottom. All 4 sides and the bottom. I'm now going to show this book, The Prehistory of Dixon Mounds, published in 1980 by Alan D. Hahn. And he did it for the Illinois State Museum. Reports Investigation number 35, Dixon Mounds Museum Anthropological Studies. Great books, not real pricey either. Good book, good book. Jumping over to page 122, we're going to look at these skulls and how they're laid out. Just very strange burial rituals. Some upside down, some this way, some that way. But look at these skulls here. This comes from page 129. Check out these skulls. I'm certainly not going to show every plate, just what I think is the more choice. This comes from page 132. We see more of these strange shaped skulls. So what was the big deal with the Star Child? Check out this guy's head. These guys had large craniums, and some of them were rather tall. They're all numbered and labeled. Check them out. Unbelievable. What happened to them? Where are their descendants? What happened to their seed lines? Page 135. Check him out. This is a youngster here, we know that. Or it could have been a dwarf, maybe. Check out that skull. Check out that skull. Here's one that everybody else is laid out real well, but this guy, I guess there wasn't enough of him left. Check out the guy there. Check out that skull. These artists were just magnificent. This comes from page 139. Get skull number 214 here. This comes from page 141. I'm going to show some of these skulls here, the layout of them, and again, the artist gave them all perfect teeth. It's easier to do that than to show which ones were missing. And these are just drawings. These aren't actual skulls. These are just drawings. And scroll down here. They get some of these weird shapes. And this is all from Dixon Mounds in Illinois, central Illinois. Real close to the Illinois River. Check out these skulls. The sutures look very similar. So I'm saying that this is possibly all the same race of people here. Now this is plate 7. And I'm showing it to you because this is the actual real deal. In Dixon Mounds back in the 80s, you could actually go and see these skeletons, just like you could at Etowah Mounds in Bartow County, Georgia, and other places, until the late 80s, early 90s, when the Native Amerindians just started pitching a hissy about these, thinking that they were Native Americans or Amerindians, and that it was just horrible for anyone to see their bones, as they had died hundreds, thousands of years before. And even though at Dixon Mounds, these people were tested out as Caucasians, they were not Amerindians. The Indians still, and it wasn't the actual Native Amerindians in the first place, it was all the white people that were hoping to become some type of Amerindian protege or initiate or whatever. They were the ones that made the stink. And you see that there's different pottery pieces here, different utensils, all through this burial. This is showing several of the ways that they were laid out. And this is the real deal. Now all of these have sheets over them. So all this work that these people did, I wouldn't be surprised if they had to fill it all back in. And all we have is books and pictures of what was there beforehand. Very strange burial. Very strange burial at Dixon Mounds in Illinois. Now I'm going to show this book, Changing Perspectives on the Archaeology of the Central Mississippi Valley. This was published by the University of Alabama Press in 1998. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. We're going to look at this handsome fellow right here. That is a good shot. That is a good shot. Edited by these two fellows here. And you'll notice the circular rings around the eyes, and that's a lot. That same depiction is on several of the illustrations of artifacts that we have found here in Illinois. You see the right here and right here, like almost the appearance of a mask of some description. And I just want to point that out. And I believe it's Afrocentric Ancient Americans, where I show several of these type eye-type ornaments or designs, tattoos, whatever they are, around the eye. Now we're going to jump over to page 32. And we're going to look at some of these sites here. Here you see Sandy Woods, Myers Mound. And all of these sites are ancient mounds and mound civilizations. And they're just everywhere. Here you see Dickson Mounds. And this is the Boot Hill of Missouri. And several of these just have really huge mounds, and several of them. And we're going to look at a couple of them specifically. But we're just going to scroll back here. Picking up on page 61. Now here you see Kincaid Mound on the Ohio River on the Illinois side. And there's another huge mound here at Rowlandtown. Really big mound there. And they liken it to Wycliffe. They say these two sites are heavily related to each other. I say they all are. This is the Ohio coming down here. This is the Mississippi coming in here. Wycliffe is a tourist attraction. You can go there. Twin Mounds, I don't really know what the status is on that, to be honest. But they're all within, just a few miles of each other. Not far at all. And this comes from the Sandy Woods site. And you can see here, it comes from page 152. And I've kind of oriented, it's kind of misplaced here because this is actually the north side. You see the graduate 960 feet. So you can get some idea of how large this ancient site is. Here's a sink, which could be a borrow pit. This is a mound here, mound. All kinds of mounds inside this protective ditch here. And I mean, these guys had fortifications, and we're going to look at that a little bit more here in a moment. Now, when you search the Sandy Woods site online, this is one of the plats that comes up. You see right here, 0 to 400 feet. It's huge, huge, and all these pit houses, and the mounds here, the sinks and pits, borrow pits. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll it down here to show you what I want you to see. There's several different pottery designs that they found here at the Sandy Woods site, and different impressions here. And until we get down here, and this is polychrome. This polychrome style here, fired polychrome style, we see all over the Mogollon Rim area, Gila River area, all over everywhere in the American Southwest, just everywhere. Now, one thing that also gets me is how in the world did every ancient tribe in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, how did everyone all of a sudden get the weaving loom? Single, double, and triple bobbin weft. With these it's a machine. It's a machine that has to be built with precision engineering in order to manufacture clothes. I just wonder, how did everybody across the planet get it at the same time? Same thing with bow and arrow. How did everybody get it at the same time? And this is what they call Powers Fort. I've oriented it to north at the top. 768 feet, 750 feet, 744 feet. You get some idea. This is a huge complex. Huge complex. These are mounds in the middle of it. That's probably a borrow pit, or what they call sinks. There's some activity right here. And this right here is most likely just a ditch that goes all the way around it. It's protected on this side by a swamp. These people worked hard. And according to the experts like Cyrus Thomas in late 1800s, they only lived there for 50, 60 years. And that sure is a lot of work to just live there for just a few years. I'm just saying. Really nice complex. And this comes from page 175, talking about the Powers Fort site in Missouri. Erect post, fire bed, mound strata 1 through 6. Look at how they built this. It doesn't make any sense at all. The cross section of mound 1 at Powers Fort as depicted. You know, numbers 1 through 6 represent mound strata. Does this make any sense at all? They didn't just pile up the dirt. they put posts in it. Or the post. Oh, let's just not move the post. Let's just leave it there. That'll make them scratch their heads or shake their heads several hundred years from now. This comes from page 179. Just showing you some of the burial layouts here. And they're very similar to what they found just a few miles north of these sites and at other sites, Dixon, burial sites in Kentucky. They seem to all have a common scheme in this area. And several other places too. This comes from page 198, showing another one. And fortification ditch, cypress swamp, residential locales, midden, there's the trash. 1, 2, 3, 4 mounds. There's the plaza, what they call the plaza. Got to have a playground. And this comes from page 201. Langdon site in Missouri. And all of these sites here, down in the Boot Hill, all of these are, you can look them up. I mean, it's just fascinating, fascinating ruins everywhere. Here's the Moon site. There's Memphis. Just so many. Snodgrass. There's a Powers Fort location right there we just looked at. Rich Woods is another one. This comes from page 226. Here's your Langdon site again. Zabri, Mangrum, Webb, Priestley and Moon. So many sites. So many sites in Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, Kentucky. And this is the Moon site in Arkansas. Comes from page 239. Just shows you that. Check this out. Here's 10 meters. Palisade line. Palisade, they had wall around it. Wall trench. So they had trenches with behind the walls. Houses, middens, pits, hearths, burn, posts. Earthquake vent. What? Yeah, there's an earthquake vent right here. So this right here, if that's 10 meters, that's like 100 meters. That's like over 100 yards square. That's a big settlement right there. Big settlement. And that's called the Moon site in Arkansas. I just want to point out some really huge ancient settlements in the central Midwest that Central Valley of the Mississippi that you're not really going to stumble across under ordinary circumstances. And that's what I'm just doing here, is some of these you may have never heard of or before at all. Moon Village. You gonna stay here with us?
Sure it is.
Okay, we're back here again. And is this the video lab? Is this the video lab?
I guess you can call it that.
Or the coin lab, or this or that? We spoke for what, 2 hours with our forensic lab today, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And a lot of fruitful things there, man. We got a lot of stuff cooking with concerning artifacts from really all over, Italy, Europe, China, yep. North America, Central America, South America.
Well, just to give you a heads up, there's a lot of things in the works right now. There's a bunch of artifacts from southern Italy that have been found that look very similar to our artifacts that we found over here. And there is a huge resurgence right now going on, research as far as Roman influences in China.
All over.
Yes.
And Frank Aon, I don't think I've heard him that excited in a couple of years or so. He was all excited.
We talked about that town and all this, and speaking to one of the top Chinese archaeologists, that they found a bunch of Roman artifacts, from during the Ming period. So obviously, there were some Romans that were working for the Ming emperors. It's amazing.
Or there were slaves, or what? We don't know. We don't know for sure.
We don't know, but they definitely were there. So
they were there, and they were living, and they left things, artifacts, and skills.
It's absolutely.
And this part of the addendum, I want to go back to searching for Quetzalcoatl, and the elusive Mayan calendar. And people's got to realize that there never was a Mayan calendar. There never was a calendar from the Yucatan.
Well, there never was a Maya. That was a made-up name too.
Yeah, Maya. And the thing about it is my question is, well, people that think they know about the Mayan calendar, it's actually a Mexican or a Nahuatl or an Aztec calendar.
Well, they show the Nahuatl calendar, but then later on they've developed this Mayan calendar. But it has nothing to do with that. The whole Mayan calendar thing is just made up.
It's a myth. It's an absolute legendary. It's fiction. It's fiction.
Yeah, I think it was done in the 1800s again, same time.
It's a pseudo calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And now all these people that think they know about the quote unquote Mayan calendar, well, I got news for them. My question is, what did they use before they found the Aztec calendar? Because they found that what we call the Aztec calendar or the Mayan calendar, they found it in 1790 at the bottom of Lake Texcoco.
Yeah.
Now how long it had been there, nobody knows. But it sure was in good shape to be down there buried underneath the lake for hundreds of years or whatever. Okay, so they found it under, I think, like 10 feet of water, and They pulled it up, and it's like 9.5 feet in diameter, 2.5 feet thick. It's at the Mexico City Museum, or Museum of Mexico City, whatever it's called. And so my question is, from the early 1500s up to 1790, what did the Aztec or Mexicans, anybody, use for a calendar?
Oh, from 1520 to 1790?
Yeah.
Of course, they used the Catholic calendar.
Well, they had to have, because the Catholics were the only ones that had a calendar.
Right, exactly.
Come here. Come here, girl. You are our mascot. You're not the lead actor in this show.
And there's a huge problem I have with what they call the Mayan decipherments.
Oh, yeah, big time.
I mean, the numbering system is legit. You know, the numbers are. But when you find these huge stones with a chief's head on there, and they're trying to tell you that all there is some date on that stone, and basing it on this concoction of this Mayan calendar that was invented. Oh, this stone tells you this date here, 820 BC or AD or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's totally wrong, because what it does, it gives the chief's name, the chief's head, and the numbers, and what could the glyphs that come after it is like, I have won X amount of battles. I have subjugated X amount of kings. I have conquered X amount of nations. This is how I read it. I don't read a whole stone as one date. You know, oh, here's so many Unils and Baktuns and Kaktuns and all this. Oh, the stone here says 820 AD. That stone says the attributes of this king, and the numbers next to it tells it how many captives he had, how many cities he's conquered. This is what it actually says. So the whole decipherment of the Mayan glyphs is a fiction, and they just keep on propagating it.
I know. I love Chief.
We really don't know. Most of it is still unknown.
Yeah.
But like from what I can see, anytime somebody creates a stela like that, you know, some of the numbers have been figured out. But the glyphs after that actually tell the exploits of that king, not a date of 820 AD. Oh, this is what this stuff. That's total nonsense.
And there's no two glyphs that are identical.
No, that too.
And how do you put together a grammar like that?
You can. It's just too complicated. We don't know. We don't know. That's what it is.
But my favorite is Chief Smoking Squirrel 16.
Oh, it's Chief Smoking Squirrel 16. Yeah, he's
Chief Smoking Squirrel 16. And so anyway, but my problem is with that calendar, what everybody thinks is a calendar. It didn't even exist until 1790.
well.
There was none. There was no calendar.
It cracks me up on every History Channel show, whatever, when they talk about the Mayan calendar, they show that Mexican Aztec calendar.
the Aztec calendar.
It's got nothing to do with the Yucatanis.
It's got nothing to do with a calendar.
No, it has nothing to do with a calendar. It was found in the bottom of Lake Texcoco near Mexico City. So it's got nothing to do.
And can you imagine those Spaniards? I mean, the thing weighs like, what, 20 tons or something like that? It's 9.5 feet, about 2.5 feet.
It's huge.
And like, how did they get that up out of the water? And how did they find it in the first place? Or did they carve it, make it, and then drop it down into the water for 10 years? Who would know?
Well, I don't know. I'm
It
suspicious.
sure is in good shape.
It's an excellent shape. I'm suspicious of that too. It's just, I mean, didn't they drain the lake, you know, shortly after Tenochtitlan, and there was
Not all of it.
but there was a flood. I mean, I know in the 1600s they had a terrible flood in Mexico.
They had several, actually.
And they had to get some Dutch engineers and all that to reroute everything. I don't know. But yeah, that thing was it's still in excellent condition.
Yeah, it's hanging on the wall now. How do you hang a 9.5 foot, 3 foot thick rock on the wall?
I don't know.
You need some heavy anchors for that, don't you? But that's one thing that I found was that's absolutely hilarious. When you look at the whole picture, it's like hilarious.
You know, instead of them just saying we really don't know, and a lot of that we will never know.
They make it up as they go.
They just have to make something up to sound and sell books, I guess, and to teach courses.
Yeah, the workbook, the Mayan grammar workbook.
And what really got me was that back in the 70s, I guess they had some boy genius. I think his name was David something.
David Kelly, was it David Kelly?
David Kelly, yeah, some boy genius. And some university was supposed to go down there to decipher the glyphs. And they expected, well, it's going to be 2 years, but Oh, it only took a couple months and they figured it out, and then I really like, yeah, right. And the translations are just absolutely ridiculous.
And be careful of the hand-drawn Mayan glyphs as opposed to the pictures.
Well, they're
but there was a guy.
different.
There was a guy that contacted me that said that there were pictures that he had seen that didn't match what he saw on the same pyramid.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I've had several.
He said, "I've gone to that same carving,
yes,
and it does not even look like anything.
No,
what is in the book.
No, not even close.
So you can't. It's like."
Yeah, you go down. You actually go down to those places and look at those glyphs, and they're not the same. And they hand draw them in a book, and they just look different. And then they try to translate them just to make it look like. So really, we don't know.
And we may never know. We may never know.
We may never know. But like I said, anytime a chief puts a big stela with numbers and glyphs down there, that's usually the exploits of that chief.
I'm now going to show a bit of nostalgia. This was the front cover to my book 1 and also book 2. It was put together by Kathy Herter. She did an absolutely wonderful job putting these together. And in the middle here you see the motif for Alexander Helios. It's read this way here. Even though it's Greek, it's read backwards. Hele. And a new history for a new century. That was coined by George Lodge, who worked for me back in like 1995 or so. But I want to draw your attention to the gold pieces on the end. This is actually the cartouche of Alexander the Great, and it was on several gold pieces from this tomb. And I just wanted to show that because I think it's just absolutely fascinating. Nobody in the world has got this except us. Here's another addendum to my CCP series, a book that I couldn't find at the time, but it showed up not just a month ago. Now I'm showing a book that I have read several times. This is just an amazing book. It's got The United States Secret Service in the Late War by General L.C. Baker. And the thing is it wasn't up until just recently when Google actually made their changes that the Secret Service was listed online as having been created in the 1940s. But now they have made it correct and claimed now on Google that the Secret Service actually came about in 1865, which is a lot more accurate than what they had before. It's a fascinating book. You're going to see an explosion here. There's some fire coming out of here. There's a spider web here. There's a guy holding a rifle or a musket. We're just going to scroll down here and check out some of this. Is a very busy cover for the late 1800s. And here you see General Lafayette Baker and his cohort. They're on their horses and they're running at a pace. He's got his gun drawn there. The horse is making dust. And here's some kind of dragon. This is kind of peculiar. There's like a fence post here, but the dragon here is like spitting out fire to the horse. And here we see a dead slave, a dark-skinned slave of some description here. And I just find this book fascinating because the stories in it are just embellished and they're just so much fun to read. What they did to catch some of these Confederate spies. There was an older guy that had one arm, and they set up an entire machine shop, moved into a town, built houses and all this stuff, this elaborate, expensive money just to catch an old man that only had one arm. And here's the title page of it: United States Secret Service in the Late War. And a graphic history of rich and exciting experiences north and south. And buddy, that is true. Hairbreadth escapes. Perilous adventures. And some of these are still available online. I don't know if it will ever be available as a PDF or whatever. And you might can find it in some of the new stuff, Kessinger or Google Books or something. But if you want to read something that's just a wonderful read with profuse galaxy of magnificent full-page illustrations and exquisite beauty engraved on steel, wood, and stone by our special corps of artists, including these guys. And it's published in Milwaukee in 1889. Very good book. And I just wanted to put this in the reprise because if I had found this book, I would have used passages from it in my CCP series. I would have gone back and put some passages from this book here in that video series. I just want to show you how my shop has been transformed yet again to do this new video on my rock collection, my mineral collection. I got some dandies in there. I got this table set up right here. Got a bunch of specials, all my paperwork, outlines and such. I've been doing some work on the lights, on some of my lights, modifying them. All kinds of phosphorescence and fluorescence. There's another light. There's some more lights over here. Another light up here with some more specimens. There's Mega Head. That's an artifact there. Huge. Oh, look at these dandies here. Get a load of these. Man, oh man, these are beautiful. Here's my speakers. They're about 4 feet tall, Techniques. And this system here will crank. Just showing some of my, I keep mostly encyclopedia sets and dictionaries in here. There's some more over here. There's the other speaker. And here's the main cabinet. I get excited. We have helpers. We have helpers. She just turned 15, didn't you, girl? Had a birthday. Do a birthday bash for her. Whoa. I'm going to give the rundown on all these. Really cool stuff. Better than I ever have. There's a bunch of old maps of my target. All kinds of neat stuff in here. So I work on stuff. Hobbies. Has to do with rocks and minerals, believe it or not. My little lapidary deal that I used to put this together years ago, and I have used it extensively. Polished many rocks, minerals. My favorites, of course, are fluorspar and serpentine rickolite. Get to listen to music. When the weather's nice, it's lots of fun. Some of these pieces are shaping up. Beautiful stones, and they are not made in China. The stone comes from New Mexico, and I polish it right here. Here's a closer look at my rig. I just threw it together years ago, over 20 years ago. Got it back out recently. Here's my belts. I have a lot of fun doing this, making beautiful things. Okay, this would be Addendum 2, my hot peppers series I did a couple of years ago. Did not have a harvest last year, but I had a pretty good harvest this year. And these all came off of one plant, and they look kind of reaperish or scorpionish. And so that's what I've cut. I'm cutting different this year. I'm just making a sauce. And here I've got some that I've cut in half, and we're going to look at them here in UV. At the end of the growing season of 2018, my friend and myself, Greg Goodnight, my hot pepper buddy, in the second harvest, there was something I noticed. I had a couple of peppers in the cabin here, and I just happened to be messing with my UV lamps, and I noticed something. I just happened to flash it over. These suckers are fluorescent, and the camera's not going to pick it up good because it's nowhere near as good as what Greg's camera is. But there's some nice colors in here. Some purples, some pinks, some bluish greens, and I have to think that it's because of the oils that are in the peppers that make them hot. But the peppers actually do glow under shortwave UV. And I just thought that this was so absolutely bizarre. Now, in 2019, we didn't have a harvest at all. We couldn't get any peppers out or anything to grow. It's a bad season. But 2020 was a good harvest. And I just kind of wanted to show these. And this would be an addendum to my Don't Fear the Reaper or Ghosts and Scorpions video concerning hot peppers. Now this year, what I did was I made a sauce that turned out absolutely delicious. Absolutely wonderful. But I just wanted to show these. These are just absolutely gorgeous under UV. Nothing like it. Never seen anything quite like this. After watching the previous video of these peppers right here under shortwave UV, I decided that I should probably show them in natural light. And this is what they look like. Beautiful. Scorching. Now, I want to bend a little bit. Now I got you here. Is you brought up here some of your credit and debit cards that had these names on them that you started looking at your cards. Now, I remember when I made that video about Idemia and Jamalto and some of these other cards, that you took your wallet, what's in your wallet, and you looked and you found these companies in your wallet. I mean, and I'm going to show some of those.
I never even thought about it.
So you had no clue until you saw that video?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't even think about it. And then I just took all these cards that I have, and I'm like, oh my God. Right, plain as day, they're right there. So basically our entire financial system and our banking system is being controlled by foreign corporations. The whole financial system in the United States. And I would classify that as treason.
French companies, German companies.
Yeah. Even the driver's license bureaus, on the camera, this is supposed to be for states. And they got them in Mississippi. I said, you said in Illinois.
Yeah, Idemia here
on
in
the
Illinois.
Cameras and everything. So basically all our data of American citizens and everything is in the hands of foreign corporations. Once again, I consider that to be treason.
All of our biometrics?
Everything, yes. And no, I didn't. Yeah, when I looked at them, I was like, oh my gosh. And recognized just about every one of them as well.
Yeah, you knew the companies.
Yeah.
After watching my video, I show so many of these companies that manufacture the credit cards, debit cards.
And before, now a lot of them are Idemia, but the ones that are a few years older, like OT, Obertur, Obertur, and we found out that they took over, Idemia took over, and that's what they're called now. So naturally, the new cards have Idemia that used to have Obertur.
And there's G&D,
G&D, right.
Gemalto,
yeah.
and a few others that I mentioned. And these companies are still around. They were around in the 90s.
Yeah.
I showed where they're around in the 80s. And they've just gotten better through the years.
Well, some of them are several centuries old and just changed their names.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that German company that pushed out Hitler's Reich money.
Yeah.
They're still around.
Yes.
And they just changed their name.
Right. I know.
And they're bold about it. They say, hey, we stamped out Hitler's money too.
Well, what always got me is, especially with World War II, is like the Japanese Empire and the Third Reich were completely destroyed. But the corporations that provided all their weaponry and funded those wars, they're still here with us today.
They are.
I mean, Japan, you got Mitsubishi, that's one of them. They made the Zeros fighter planes.
I think Hitachi was in there too.
Hitachi, all these, everybody, they tried all these war criminals, they did keep the emperor in as a puppet, but everything else in Japanese Imperial Society was destroyed, but the companies are still there. That built the battleships, built the planes, they're still thriving. And the same thing with Germany, Krupp Steel, IG Farben, all those.
Out of Poland.
Yeah, they provided all the stuff for the Third Reich, but they're still functioning. They never lost. And
since I brought Hell Notes to the forefront, I don't think anybody else had done it like I had done it. Look how many of them I got now. I'm a rich man. I'm ready for hell now. I get into hell, I'm going to have all kinds of people that want to be my friend, huh? But the problem is I don't know enough people that are that bad that I would ever burn these for. I would rather collect them.
But you don't speak Chinese and Vietnamese and all that.
That's some pretty rough guys. I guess it's made for Vietnamese and Chinese. But you're up here now.
No, what it is basically saying you can stay poor here, but after you die, we'll make sure you're rich in the afterlife. That's the scam.
And now, something else is through the years, you've enjoyed some accommodations with me. We've stayed at the ranch house in Palm Bay. We've been at the condo in Cocoa Beach, and now you are staying at our friend the Moose Lodge.
Oh yeah.
How's that for accommodations?
Damn good.
Can you beat that if Sally runs you out of town?
No. Go catch my breakfast.
You caught your breakfast this morning, didn't you?
Yeah, caught a bass.
Caught a bass and filleted that son of a bitch.
Yep.
Having fun. I guess there's not too many people that can run from a hurricane and have as much fun as you do.
No.
And you also got to see last night. Remember, we were down at the creek. And what did you see down at the creek that we crossed?
Oh, those a new insect that's bioluminescent. It's some kind of a little worm. It's not the traditional little glowworm or firefly. No. It's a completely different one.
It's an actual bug.
A bug, yeah.
And it's not a firefly.
No, but
and there were hundreds of them on the bank.
There were hundreds of them. It was cool.
It was cool. It was cool. It's nice to have you up here for a few days.
Well, I needed an excuse to take a week off, get away from everything that I usually do. So
yeah. So, but hey, man, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad that gets you on video again. Me and you on video together is a rarity for sure.
Yeah.
Now, it used to not be. We used to cut videos all the time together.
Oh yeah.
And we worked on videos for hours and hours and hours trying to get them right sometimes, didn't we? And some of those became cult classics.
Yep.
And but anyway, that's going to do it for here for now. Harry Hubbard and Paul Shafranca signing off. Here's another addendum to Book 4 of Breaking the Currency Code, featuring my colleague Paul Shafranca's credit cards. He's got a slew of them. He's probably got 52 of them, just to keep a round number. Let's look at some of these IDs. Now we're going to look at just a few of Paul's cards. I'm just going to show his name, Here we go. Gemalto MGY. So what's in your wallet? Take a look at it. Look for the micro print. The print is very tiny. Here's another one. Here's another one. Pretty card. But you can see this is all very, very tiny print. And here you see Paul in reverse here. And that's, so this right here is actually the stamped, his name stamped. And in the micro print, real hard to see here, GTOMGY. I don't even know if the camera picked that up. But it's there. And it's like less than half the size of the stamped name. Just give you some idea of how small that is. Some of these are real small, tiny. You just have to look at your cards and see what's in your wallet. And here's the last one. Gemalto MGY. I appreciate him letting me use his cards as examples. Now remember, in book 4 of Breaking the Currency Code, I showed you the oh hell note, the Bank of Hell. Well, now I'm going to show you some more of them. They're fun and pretty. I'm going to scroll down, show you some more of these hell notes. Some of them are really funny, and they're all pretty. Nice ink, vibrant colors. Ain't he handsome? And you probably would have never guessed that his name is Jackson. Here's a good Federal Reserve note, the United States of America. And this fooled some people. This note is legal tender for all debts, private and public. And it's got 100, 100, 100 everywhere, 100. But right here it says $1, $1 with an S at the end of, I'm just saying the English is all over the place. Here's some more. Just gonna scroll down. Do you see how the colors in it? Here's another Federal Reserve note. The Hell Bank Corporation Limited. Bank of the Hell, $500. Bank of the Hell. Good looking note there, isn't it? I like this old house over here. I'm sure that you don't get anything that looks like that over in China. Old late 1800s, early 1900s house. 500. And it's spelled correctly. Here's some more. HSBC. Promise to pay the bearer on demand at its office here. Hell bank note. Nice colors. And this one here says 10 million. The Hell Bank Corporation. But here it says 1,000. Here it says 1,000. I don't know. I don't get it. This note is currency in the ghostdom. The ghostdom. Hahn. Series 2006. You can look at the backs of some of them. I think this is really cute here. United States of America. And right here it says, "In God We Trust." On a Hell bank note.